Miles Morales has traveled all across this strange new Ultimate Universe. Now he's headed for a collision course with the Maker's Cabal. Will he be able to save his little sister Billy and return to the main 616 universe? Well, let's hop into the pages of Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion issue number 5 and find out together, shall we? So then this issue already starts off doing the whole in media res thing as Spider-Man dukes it out with a massive monsterized DaCosta. But of course, how did we get here? For that, we end up flashing back to see that Miles, his friend Maystorm, and an enraged Magic of the Eurasian Triad gave chase to DaCosta after he abducted baby Billy and teleported to Latveria with plans of using the kid's power to open the portal currently trapping the Maker. Oh, also, Miles had to leave Maystorm behind, but he says he's confident that she'll be able to use Nico Minoru's staff to get back to Japan. Whew, glad Ziegler thought to write that in, or else it would have looked really bad that Miles totally abandoned this poor girl in the middle of nowhere. Now, believe it or not, Magic is still just as mad at DaCosta as anyone. They might be part of the Maker's Cabal, but that doesn't mean they're on the same side. She begrudgingly joins forces with Miles for a few minutes, only to realize much too late that DaCosta has some really nasty tricks up his sleeve. Apparently, he hasn't just been drinking mutant blood this whole time, he's also been helping himself to a whole taster's platter of super blood that he was in charge of looking over for the Maker. Geez, you know, it's somewhere out there Schmieder Schmiel would be very proud of him. All this new super blood also comes packing a series of brand new superpowers as well as a roided up super form. DaCosta manages to take Magic out of the fight pretty early by using one of these abilities to get inside her head and force her to relive her worst nightmares, which in this case seems to be time spent in limbo. Well, geez, isn't that convenient that that part of her origin remains consistent across multiple different universes? Miles puts up a valiant effort, but unfortunately he earns the wrath of this guy next. Even his super awesome vibranium suit isn't enough to stand up to such a repeated assault. Thankfully, though, DaCosta likes to play with his food first before he eats it, and as such, he subjects Miles to the very same kind of mental attack in hopes of breaking him. It's here that all of Miles' greatest anxieties and shortcomings end up getting laid bare. In fact, the only thing that manages to cut through this smog of fear is, get this, baby Billy saying her first words. Which, get this, just so happened to be Miles. Is that a little cheesy? Is that a little on the nose? Yeah, maybe, but I'm a total sucker for things like this. Knowing that his sister needs him gives Miles exactly the push he needed to attain his own Ultra Instinct Spider form, something that he actually hasn't done in a few arcs, and I honestly forgot he was capable of doing there for a minute. Spider-Man socks DaCosta on the jaw, and while it's not enough to defeat him outright, thankfully Miles won't have to do that on his own, as it's at that very minute the cavalry ends up showing up in the form of the Ultimates, including Ant-Man and Wasp, as well as the rest of the team who Miles didn't actually get a chance to meet back in the second issue, and honestly, I'm glad that he is getting the opportunity now. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, and I was thinking it too. Geez, that all wrapped up pretty quick and pretty easy. Well, don't think so fast. Because believe it or not, this book and Cody Ziegler seem to have saved some of the biggest curveballs for last. It's during the fight Miles ends up getting knocked into a secret back room. One that just so happens to be housing more of those super origin boxes, the things that Iron Lad and the Ultimates were using to try and build a new super army to oppose the Maker. Only these ones are different. These were the ones the Maker saw fit to hide away, and one of these origin boxes just so happens to be reaching out to Miles. Why? Well, it's because it's his own personal origin box, and the second Miles touches it, all of his memories of the old Ultimate Universe end up flooding back to him, the very same memories that he's been struggling to regain for the last 3 runs? Seriously, ever since Miles made the jump to the 616 universe, writers have been threatening to let him get all of his old memories back, and finally, here and now, they ended up pulling that specific trigger. What an interesting time and place. The implication, too, that the Maker made an origin box for Miles too, despite the fact that neither of them are actually from the original 616 universe, is also a fascinating idea to mull over. I mean, it does make sense. The Maker wanted Miles to come with him when he started this brand new universe. They are the last 2 remaining members of the old Ultimate Universe. Well, if you don't count Jimmy Hudson and a few others. Ultimate Cap and Ultimate Iron Lad thank Miles for all his hard work in protecting the world from the Maker's premature return, though they now end up having themselves one hell of a problem problem to solve. Mainly, what are they going to do with all of these origin boxes? They don't have enough time to use them themselves, but they're much too powerful to destroy. It's here that Miles ends up being quite selfless and saying, hey, why don't you give them to me? I'll take them back to my Earth. They'll be out of the Maker's reach. And I'll be sure my Avengers watch over them for safekeeping, which is most certainly an offer that these guys can't refuse. DaCosta is defeated, but clearly not killed, which is a surprise when we stop and consider that he was one of the original big bads of this brand new Ultimate Universe, and yet here he is being brought down in a side series, but I digress. The question then becomes, now that Miles has managed to rescue his baby sister Billy, how exactly are they going to get back to the 616 universe? Thankfully, this is where Ultimate Doom comes into play. Doom, you'll remember, was basically the Maker's science slave for many years, and because of that, he is able to uniquely reverse engineer the technology that brought Miles and Billy here in the first place. It's while Doom gets all of this ready, the conversation ends up getting breached about the Maker's true origin. Miles now 100% knows that that guy and him actually came from the old, now dead Ultimate Universe. Miles also lets it slip that before he was the Maker, he was a Reed Richards, a fact of which sends Doom on a massive metaphysical spiral that actually ends up making the backbone of the Ultimates issue number 17 that came out this week, and you should definitely read it because it's really important. And also so crazy that such a big important piece of information was actually dropped here right at the end of a side series. As the comic comes to a close, Miles ends up returning back home to the 616 universe. His parents are overjoyed to see him, and in the very last panel we can see the origin boxes came back home with him as well, but whose origins? What powers? What could it all possibly mean? Well, I guess we'll all have to check back on in next time to find out. And so that was Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion issue number 5, a finale that mostly ends up sticking the landing. Mostly. A couple issues ago, I was actually worried that this side series wasn't going to have any impact on the Ultimate Universe or even Miles himself, and that none of this was gonna matter. Thankfully, that's not true. It's just all the important stuff that did happen happened in the weirdest way possible. Yeah, Miles now knows he's from the original, now dead Ultimate Universe, and hopefully they'll actually explore that more in the main Ziegler book. Because here it's just kind of a thing that happens, and I mean, I guess it's important because if Miles didn't know, he wouldn't have that conversation with Doom where he ends up setting him on the path that he needs to be on. It's all just weirdly paced and ultimately quite convenient how it all shaked out. Likewise, so many characters who meet each other for the first time in this series and whose fates are decided by the end of this story feel like they should be treated like so much more of a bigger deal than they are. But also, is that really this book's fault, or is that more of a problem with the bigger line itself and how the whole thing is kind of rushing to the finish line now? Good ideas, bad ideas, it doesn't matter, we just kind of gotta get it done. Art wasn't exactly my favorite on this one either, which is a shame because I really like the art that's in the main Miles book right now. Overall, I would give this one a 7.5 out of 10, definitely better than the two previous issues, but I'd also be lying if I said this one wouldn't have been capable of so much more. Maybe one more issue would have made a difference, I don't know. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest, that's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, you know, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.